I miss the old days. There was this one guy or whatever. He wasn't home, and he had a name just like a judge. There's this judge that was this judge, and this one judge was actually really crooked or something like that. I forget if he was crooked or not, but and there anyway though there's this one guy that lived in this town, and he had the name like a judge. And back in the old days, they really didn't know all that much. I mean, about things. They would just look in the phone book for the name of the judge that they had, and then they would go and try and shoot his house. So anyway, so this one guy gets wounded, and I think I feel bad for him or something like that. And we set up this sting operation where I rebuild the house, only I make it bulletproof. You know, I do bunkers a lot back in the old days. So anyway, and we post it and we post it and make it even more known that he's a straight judge or something like that. We actually did like a sting operation, and we actually get him. I don't think he was a judge. I think he was somebody else. I forget what the deal was. Anyway, every night he would go into his house. We built this brand new, beautiful, huge house for him, big mansion house, and and people even thought he must be a crooked judge because he lived in this giant house, because I built the house for him. It was a big because his old house got blown up or burned down or something like that, to send him a message or something like that. And I got wind of it, or I was told of it. So we built him a brand new house, a bigger house, and and it had concrete walls, and it had steel reinforcing on the inside in case they use explosives, and then it had like a wood covering on the outside, so you wouldn't know there was a concrete house on the inside. It was one of my. I was doing this wood siding or something like that. I forget what the deal was, but basically, I'm massively wealthy, hugely wealthy, and we built another bunker for him across the street or a little ways away. And we put a tunnel between them. You have to understand that I'm a gazillionaire. So I have all this done, and it doesn't even cost me that much. I have all this done, and so every night he walks into his big, huge mansion, gets in his little elevator, goes down into the basement, walks across to the other house, and goes up. And we have court cases and stuff like that, or people are going to trial. So people find out that he's going to be their judge. So they go and they walk up to the front gate, and we post a camera too nearby. I think from one other thing we start. Yeah, I get to play a part in the world like corruption scandal thing. So we have a camera across the street, and I think it has one of the new really expensive. It's like a $10,000 camera, because we have to invent the technology so we can actually get a clear image of the people trying to attack the house. So we invent the camera so it can see in the dark and everything else like that. And there's all this camera footage of basically people walking up, friends or relatives of the people who are going to go to court the next day on a legitimate charge like murder or something like that, where you see their relative walk up with like an Uzi, because guns are everywhere. And they go and they either try and cross the fence and try and get inside and shoot up the place, but we don't let them actually get inside the house, because if they got inside the house, they would see the elevator and know that it was a dummy house. So we start nabbing them. We wait for them to try and shoot or try and break in, and then we arrest them for that. Anyway, so there's all these people. They spray up the house and just like riddle it with bullet holes and say, "Well, he must be dead," you know. And they even use a 50 cal one time. Like one time, there's this picture of this car. It drives up, goes up, it kind of crawls, creeps, and then and then the guy pops up and goes and like hoses down the building, hoses down the building. Like just like straight up, just like 50 cal or 60 cal or something like that. It's like I forget what it was. It happened like 3 times or something like that. But just like boom, 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 and then drives off. The whole thing is on camera, and I forget what it was, but we had guards like we had some way. It was a super surveillance. See, you have to understand. In the 1900s and 1800s, they didn't know about cameras and surveillance. It was an unknown thing. Like, you saw me? How'd you see me? The cameras, TVs, and everything else between the 1700s and 1900s are unknown. So people just see weapons, know that they're weapons, go get weapons or make weapons, and then go to try and kill a judge. And so these guys are like boom, 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 and we even get some of the American or the United States military people, and they're like boom, 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 and just like shooting up the house, and then they run off, and this guy only handles one case at a time. And he only does the upper end cases. So basically, we sentence 120 people to death or 500 people to death because of this guy. Because they try and kill him every single time. I think he does like maybe 30 cases where he only does the upper end cases, the powerful rich cases, the cases like against Adolf Hitler or something like that. Like before it even goes to trial, they just go up and try and kill this judge. And it happens to be one of my super secure bunkers. So and I'm actually getting research out of it because I'm seeing what the shell damage is on these buildings, and the building isn't even touched hardly. Just some concrete damage. And the next day we go and we repair it and put up the new siding and everything like that. And we get like 500 psychopaths. Anyway, and then later on they're saying who sentenced all those anti-Nazi people to death. He wasn't sentencing the anti-Nazi people to death. He was sentencing the people to death that whose court case he was going to be trying that week, and he only did one court case at a time on purpose, so there wouldn't be any confusion as to who exactly was trying to not go to jail or not get caught. Like, there are cases where we couldn't even have actually done a real trial because these people probably would have gotten off because they could have paid people to get them off, or they would have gotten off because they would have just done jury whatever, and they would have, but they just went to just go and kill him. Like the old days, there are so many stories. Like there is so much back there that nobody knew about. That it was like, So we not only get the guy sentenced to death, but we also nab, because the people go and we catch them down the road. There's like two ways in. There's like one way in. Back then there weren't that many roads, so there's one way in, and one guy actually I think goes and goes off into the field, and we get him out there. And they're like trying to get, and they get stuck in the mud because most places back then, the dirt's really soft. So even though they go bloop, I mean, even my vehicles go bloop. Even the half tracks, you'll see half tracks that are like bloop. There's lots of pictures of half tracks that are like bloop, where they're just stuck. They even put skis on the half tracks because the mud gets so bad that the wheels just get bogged down. So we put skis on it. So anyway, so this judge, we sentenced 500 people to death, and their relatives are also sentenced to death or whatever, and are put in jail because they try and kill him every single time. It's like the Irish people's whatever, and they go, and like some of the charges aren't even all that bad, I mean, they would have just gotten in jail for like 20 years or something like that, or 10 years. But they went for the killing, and that's attempted murder on a judge, and whatever. And usually we find out later on when we start questioning and interrogating these people that they're guilty of like 300 murders.